Feeling like you're constantly playing catch up with AI news. It's a whirlwind out there.
It really is.
But today, we're zeroing in on two major shifts that maybe cut through some of that noise. It's about how AI is going to plug into our data and, well, the web itself.
Exactly. We're going to dig into Anthropic's new Model Context Protocol, MCP for short,
Yeah.
and also Microsoft's unveiling of the Natural Language Web, or NLWeb.
Okay. And our goal today, it's pretty simple, really. We want to understand what these protocols are actually about, why they're potentially a big deal for you, someone who wants to stay informed, but maybe without getting totally overwhelmed.
And what kind of, exciting possibilities they might unlock down the road.
Right. We've got Anthropic's own announcement on MCP and a really insightful piece from The Verge on Microsoft's NLWeb to guide us.
Yep, those are our main sources.
Okay, so let's try and unpack this, starting with Anthropic's Model Context Protocol, MCP.
Okay. So the fundamental challenge MCP is trying to tackle is that right now, AI assistants often operate in their own little bubbles, sort of isolated.
Isolated how?
Well, they struggle to easily access the huge amounts of information that are locked away in different apps, file systems, older company databases, legacy systems.
Okay.
Think about it. Every time an AI needs to connect to a new data source, someone usually has to build a custom connection. It's time-consuming, and it just doesn't scale well.
Right. So it's like having loads of different pipes, but none easily connect to the main supply without a ton of custom plumbing for each one. Is MCP the universal adapter here?
That's a great analogy, precisely. Anthropic is proposing MCP as a universal open standard, one single way for AI systems to talk to all sorts of data sources.
Consistently and securely.
Consistently and securely, yes. So instead of all these fragmented one-off links, you'd have a much more streamlined, unified approach.
Okay, so how does this actually work then? In practice, explain it like we're grabbing coffee.
Okay, so imagine developers, right? They have data they want their AI apps to use. They can set up what Anthropic calls MCP servers. Think of these servers as translators. They make the data understandable to the AI.
Gotcha.
Then the AI applications, those are the MCP clients, can securely connect to these servers to get the information they need. And importantly, they can send information back too. It allows for a proper two-way conversation.
Okay, so data speaks one language, AI speaks another. MCP is the interpreter in the middle. That makes sense. What specific tools or, resources did Anthropic actually launch to make this happen?
They rolled out three key things. First, the MCP specification itself. That's the detailed blueprint for how these connections work. Plus, software development kits, SDKs.
SDKs are like toolkits for developers, right?
Exactly. Pre-made components to build these connections more easily. Second, they've built support for local MCP servers right into their Claude desktop app, direct integration.
Okay.
And third, they've created an open source library. Basically a place where developers can find and share MCP servers they've built, like a community hub for these connectors.
Oh, that open source aspect sounds really powerful.
Yeah.
It means the more people chip in, the better and more versatile the whole system gets. Yeah.
Absolutely. And to give it a kickstart, Anthropic mentioned that their latest model, Claude 3.5 Sonnet, is actually surprisingly good at generating the code needed for these MCP servers.
Oh.
And they even launched with ready-to-go servers for a bunch of really common business tools. Things like Google Drive, Slack, GitHub, Git, Postgres database, even Puppeteer for web automation.
Oh.
So that immediately shows you, the potential breadth of application here.
That's a pretty solid list right out of the gate. So who's actually using this stuff right now? Any early adopters?
Yeah, Anthropic highlighted companies like Block, formerly Square and Apollo. They also mentioned several developer tool companies are jumping on board.
Like who?
Zed, Replit, Codium, and SourceGraph. They're integrating MCP to make their AI coding assistants much smarter.
How so?
Well, the idea is, by giving the AI better access to the context of a coding project like the existing code base, the libraries being used, it can generate more accurate, more helpful code suggestions. Fewer errors, hopefully.
That makes total sense.
Huh?
It's like asking someone for directions when they can actually see the map you're looking at, not just guessing.
Exactly. And Danjiar Prasanna from Block had a really good quote about this, didn't he?
He did, yeah. What was it again?
He emphasized that because MCP is open source, it acts as a kind of bridge that connects AI to real-world applications. He stressed how it fosters innovation and collaboration.
Right. And for the developers themselves, the big win is building against one standard protocol instead of juggling all those different custom connectors.
That's the core benefit, yeah. Instead of constantly wrestling with this patchwork quilt of different integrations, you build to the standard. It's a huge potential efficiency gain.
It really sounds like it could streamline things massively, letting developers focus on, the actual application logic. What's the long-term vision here? Where does Anthropic see MCP going?
The ultimate goal seems to be enabling AI systems to seamlessly maintain context as you, the user, move between different tools and data sets.
Okay. Explain that a bit more.
Imagine an AI assistant that remembers what you were just working on in, say, your document editor when you switch over to your project management tool, because it has consistent access to the relevant info through MCP.
Ah, I see. So it's not starting from scratch every time you switch apps.
Precisely. MCP aims to create a much more integrated and sustainable way for AI to interact with our whole digital environment.
Okay. So if I'm a developer listening to this and I'm thinking, this MCP thing sounds interesting. How do I actually try it out? What are the first steps?
Anthropic seems to have made it pretty straightforward. They can install those pre-built servers directly via the Claude desktop app.
Okay.
They can follow the quick start guide Anthropic has put out to build their own custom servers.
Mm.
And they can even contribute back to that open source library if they build something useful or want to collaborate.
Good to know. And who can use this? Is it just for paying customers?
No, they said all Claude.ai subscription plans support connecting to MCP servers through the desktop app. And for their enterprise customers, the Claude for Work folks, they can start testing locally now with tools for deploying, remote production servers coming soon.
And the big message seems to be collaboration, right? They're not just throwing this out there. They want input.
Absolutely. They're really positioning MCP as a community project, inviting developers, businesses, AI people, everyone to get involved and help shape where it goes next.
Interesting. Okay, let's switch gears then. Let's talk about Microsoft's vision with the natural language web, NLWeb.
Right, NLWeb.
That Verge article, it frames this as Microsoft's really ambitious plan to, and I think this is a quote, fix the web by making it cheap for any website to run AI search. That sounds huge.
It is a grand ambition, yeah. And this vision is largely coming from Ramanathan V. Guha. He's a technical fellow at Microsoft.
Isn't he the guy behind RSS
Yeah,
and schema.org?
the very same. So he has a serious track record when it comes to building foundational stuff for the open web. He sees NLWeb as part of what he calls a fourth revolution in personal computing.
A fourth revolution. What does he mean?
Basically, a move towards a world where we can interact with all our applications using just natural everyday language, free-form conversation.
Okay. But the article mentioned he's not entirely thrilled with how AI interaction is developing right now, is he? Concerns about the big chatbots.
Exactly. Guha's worried that too much of our interaction with AI is getting funneled through these massive centralized platforms, ChatGPT, Claude, Bing, the big players.
And the problem with that is?
His concern is that these platforms could essentially just scrape knowledge from the web, use it to answer questions, but not really provide much value back to the individual websites that actually created that content. It's a potential imbalance, draining value.
Ah, okay. So NLWeb is his proposed solution to rebalance things. How does it empower the individual sites?
The core idea is to make it incredibly easy, like super simple for any website or app owner to add that kind of ChatGPT style interaction directly onto their own platform.
Using their own data.
Using their own specific data, and critically, choosing the AI model they want to use to power it. Guha describes NLWeb as a protocol. You ask a website a question in natural language, and you get back a structured, useful answer. NLWeb handles the background logistics, the technical complexity, while the website owner just supplies their unique data.
Okay, that sounds really interesting. Can you give us a practical example? How would this look for someone just browsing?
Yeah, The Verge had a great example using Serious Eats, the recipe site. Instead of typing keywords like spicy appetizer, a user could literally ask, "Find me spicy and crunchy appetizers."
Okay.
NLWeb would process that against the Serious Eats recipe database. Then the user could refine it, maybe say, "Oh, and I need something for Diwali, and it has to be vegetarian."
And the system remembers the vegetarian part.
Exactly. It maintains the context of the conversation and keeps providing relevant vegetarian options suitable for Diwali. It's like having a helpful chat with the website itself.
That does sound much more intuitive than just scrolling through endless search results. There was another example too, wasn't there? With an outdoor gear shop?
Yes, someone searching for a jacket warm enough for Quebec. That shows how the AI model can understand the request, but also pull in real-world knowledge like what's the typical weather in Quebec, and then show relevant jackets from the retailer's stock.
Right. And it could even handle things like showing sponsored links within that conversational result.
Yeah, the UI aspect is considered too, so the big advantage for the website owner is they run the AI themselves, on their own turf, so to speak.
Instead of sending users off to Google or Bing or ChatGPT and maybe losing them.
Exactly. They keep control over the user experience, keep the user engaged on their site. Microsoft's apparently already working with publishers and companies like TripAdvisor, Eventbrite,
Shopify.
to integrate this natural language interaction directly. And Guha specifically contrasts this open protocol approach with the kind of custom one-off deals we see now, like Shopify's separate partnership with OpenAI. This is meant to be more universal.
Got it. And the article also suggested NLWeb could be way cheaper for website owners than running traditional web search.
That's a key selling point. Guha points out that building and maintaining a full web search index is incredibly expensive, like eye-wateringly expensive.
Right.
With NLWeb, the idea is a website owner could potentially just use an RSS feed of their content, put it into what's called a vector database.
That's a database optimized for AI, right?
Yeah, basically. Store the content there, and then run the AI-powered search using relatively inexpensive models like the new GPT-4 Mini. It makes that sophisticated conversational search much more accessible.
And given Guha's history with RSS and schema.org, technologies that really did become open web standards, it definitely gives NLWeb some credibility. But what's Microsoft's play here? What's in it for them?
Well, the article touches on this. NLWeb itself is presented as an open protocol. Anyone can use it. But the likely long-term strategy is that by encouraging loads of websites and apps to adopt these conversational AI interfaces, many of them will eventually need more powerful AI tools, more infrastructure.
Which Microsoft can provide through Azure.
Exactly. They foster the ecosystem and then offer the cloud services to support it. Plus, there's that connection mentioned between NLWeb and Anthropic's MCP. Microsoft is apparently investing in integrating them too.
Right, makes sense. Fostering an ecosystem they can then service. The article also flagged some open questions about NLWeb's future, didn't it?
It did. Things like, how would data be shared between different sites using NLWeb? Securely, ethically? What about AI agents becoming more proactive?
Like browsing multiple NLWeb-enabled sites for you or even making purchases.
Potentially. And how would all that user data be managed? Guha emphasizes these aren't decisions for Microsoft, but rather for the web publishers and the users themselves to figure out collectively.
And there are definite hurdles, right? Getting widespread adoption for any new web protocol is tough. And the internet does tend toward centralization.
Absolutely. Those are the big challenges. Getting everyone on board is always hard. And yeah, the trend has often been towards bigger platforms dominating. But Guha's hope, it seems, is that by making really good AI tech available to everyone, maybe, just maybe, it could foster a more decentralized, more innovative web again.
Okay, so if we try and connect the dots here, it feels like both MCP and NLWeb are tackling this friction between AI and data, but maybe from different angles.
That seems right. MCP is focused on those direct pipelines into specific data sources, enterprise data, app data, databases.
Right, breaking down silos.
While NLWeb is more about making the existing web content on individual websites much more intelligently searchable and interactive through conversation.
And it's interesting to think about how they might work together, isn't it? Could a website using NLWeb maybe use MCP under the hood to pull in even deeper data?
It's certainly a compelling thought. Imagine a travel site using NLWeb for search, but maybe using MCP to securely let you connect your calendar or past trip data for really personalized recommendations.
Ooh, that could be powerful.
It could unlock a whole new level of context-aware interaction, yeah.
So overall, it really feels like there's this broader trend emerging, empowering developers and website owners to integrate AI much more directly into their own stuff.
Absolutely. Moving away from just relying on the giant centralized AI platforms.
And the potential outcome for users, for you listening, is maybe much more tailored, more context-aware experiences online.
Definitely. But it also, as we touched on, raises those important questions around data privacy and who controls your data when it's being used by AI in all these different places.
True. Okay, so to wrap it up then, key takeaways. Anthropic's Model Context Protocol, MCP, is aiming to be a standard connector, letting AI tap into diverse data sources more easily, breaking down those silos.
And Microsoft's Natural Language Web, NLWeb, is a protocol designed to let any website easily add conversational AI, especially search, using their own data and their choice of model, making the web itself more interactive.
Both holding potential, really, to change how we find and use information online. Faster access, maybe more intuitive experiences.
Hopefully, yeah, a potentially smarter web.
Which leads us to a final thought for you to mull over. With these kinds of protocols starting to emerge, how might the way you interact with information, with the internet, fundamentally change in the next few years? What new possibilities might these open standards unlock for you personally or maybe professionally?
Yeah, what does a truly context-aware AI-integrated digital world look like? It's definitely something to think about.